And some things we can't necessarily afford to do that. Some things we can't afford to not do or do wrong. So exercise is exercise, but the perspective of exercise is everything. The angle we approach it from. Why are we exercising? What is our goals? What are we trying to do? Right? And the internet now is flooded with bodybuilders and fake bodybuilders. Real bodybuilders and fake bodybuilders. Which for John Q. Public is a nightmare. Absolutely unhealthy. What's the real bodybuilders? Real bodybuilders are people that build their body for money, for trophies, for sponsorships, etc. Fake bodybuilders are personal trainers that are trying to build up their body to look like actual bodybuilders so that they can monopolize the market, right? So they can monopolize the market, right? So when we get into the Djed, right? Some of the main, most important thing I want you to think about is form, equal in function, right? And then that being posture, cell production, and what should we say? Consciousness. Yeah, we'll say consciousness, right? But we're going, in this term, we're putting a lot of stuff in consciousness, right? We're putting a lot in consciousness, right? We're putting a lot in cell production, right? Cell production is blood, immune cells, and stem cells, right? So that's literally all the tissues of your body, right? But then in consciousness, we're talking about your spirit, your soul, your mind, however you want to phrase that intangible thing that's you, right? That's a byproduct of this. We have to understand this connection. That's why there's a this. That's why there's a this, because the intelligence goes with, so that's why the whole, just in case y'all don't know, right? Just in case you don't know. That's why, along with the Darwin's theory, when they was trying to map this whole road out from monkeys to Neanderthals to modern humans, it was about the posture. Because the theories are about how things happen, but the facts are, the more the spine changes, the more intelligent the species becomes. The most intelligent, the most upright. So when you have in the Masonic tradition, right? In the Masonic tradition, upright means more than just being upright, right? In science, you think upright, it means, you look here, you see, okay, well, yeah, there was the monkeys totally bent over, right? Knuckle draggers, right? Then as the monkeys developed, right? They started to get more and more to, to the hominid species, which is kind of like, still got them long arms and hands and, you could tell this with, but this is what they're trying to figure out, right? So understanding the special place that the Djed, so that's what the stability is about. It's not about no bundle of sticks or making no boats. That's foolishness, right? It's about the consciousness. Now, this is a new term. Our ancestors wouldn't use no term like this, right? We would use terms that relate closer to what we know of today as soul and spirit, right? We would go Kat, Ren, Ba, Ka, stuff like that, right? But the consciousness, that is a collective situation from collective communication of all the cells in your body, all the tissues, the organs, the glands, all of them being able to communicate. None of that happens without the posture. The better the posture, the better that's happening, right? So if we put your brain capacity at 100, right? That 100% brain capacity is going to be, we check first with the posture. If the posture goes to 80%, brain capacity goes to 80%. Off rip. As the posture goes, so does brain capacity go. This is not actual function. This is just capacity. This is just potential. So when you start to add in other stuff, it can diminish even more, right? But just the capacity starts with the posture. So we're putting the cart before the horse in an insane type of way, right? Because it's things that we take for granted. It's things that we take for granted and we trying to get into fancy spaces. Yeah, we looking for neurosurgeon to, they don't know. Neurosurgeons only know, like, if you take a healthy spine, I could reduce the whole science of neurosurgery down to a few seconds. You take a picture of a healthy spine, right? Boop. Picture of a healthy spine. Then you take a picture of somebody that has a not so healthy spine. Boop. And they go, oh, we see this little thing right here. Look at this little bleep on L5. Yeah, look at that. There's a little growth right there on L5. Yeah, so you know what we need to do, sir? Sir, we need to go ahead and cut this off. Look at these pictures right here. You see this MR, this CAT scan we get. You see this little picture right? Yeah, so on this L5 right here, this is your L5. This is your lumbar. This is your fifth invertebra. Yeah, so right here, you see this? We think this is what's causing the problem right here. So we can go in there and go ahead and remove this. Quick surgery, recovery time is X amount of weeks. You should be fine. Yeah, we can get you back, because this is what a spine is supposed to look like. This is what yours looks like. You have a little growth right there on the L5. We're going to go ahead and remove that, and then you should be. Yeah. Well, yeah, look at this disc right here. You see this disc between, your T3 and your T4 right there? Yeah, it looks like your disc is deflated. So this is called the ruptured disc right here. And so what's going to happen is you're going to start having, possibly, pinched nerves here. And, so what we can do is we can go ahead and we can use a laser beam and we can burn that out. Yeah, we can use a laser beam and go ahead and burn that out. Now, that works sometimes, because the symptom is the pain. The problem is the loss of function that the pain causes. So we get rid of the pain. We get rid of the problem, the loss of function that the pain causes. The problem is, what happens here and here? when we just start getting rid of sections of the spine? What happens when we just start getting rid of whole sections? Like, yeah, let's just cut that one off. Yep, you messed that one up. We can remove that. Yeah, we can get rid of that. What happens here? What happens as the posture goes? I'll tell you what's happening. We have a massive epidemic of mental illness. Yes. We have a mystery epidemic of all manner of mental illnesses going up like this. And nobody's able to put 2 + 2 together to get 4. Because again, sometimes it's deeper than 2 + 2 = 4. It's 2 times 2 = 4, times 2 = 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64. You got to put a few more pieces in there, right? You got to go, wait a minute. Metabolic illness, what we doing? Right? Where's diabetes? Diabetes always lurking in the darkness. Yeah, sugar. Where's the sugar at? Inky, Inky, we've been listening to you for a while. We know that sugar is getting ready to. Yeah, sugar is in there. Right? Because there's another player in the conversation. Right? We went over muscle, tendons, bones. Right? But there's a whole nother layer to the story, pun intended. There's another layer to the story that's fascia, right? Or fascia, right? Tomato, tomato. I prefer fascia, right? You have the fascia, whole nother layer of tissue, right? And what happens is fat destroys the function of your fascia, but we don't fully understand the fascia yet. So there's just so many holes. And because there's holes in the database, stuff goes under the radar, right? Because we don't really relate vertebrae health to cerebral spinal fluid because we're using the wrong type of languages. We're using the wrong type of words, and most people not educated to be able to put it together, like what we try to do over here, right? So they don't get a ruptured disc. So first of all, there's no such thing as a slip disc. That's not a real thing. That's a slang. Not a real thing. I know everybody has heard of a slip disc before. There's no such thing as a slip disc. Discs don't slip. Disc that's in your spine, don't slip out of it. No such thing as a slip disc, right? What you have is dehydrated discs. You see, but if you start using a straightforward language associated with these conditions, immediately money gonna start drying up for people who's pimping your ignorance. Because if you realize, oh, wait a minute, so you're saying there's no such thing as a slip disc, these are ruptured disc and disc rupture because they're dehydrated, immediately you go 2 plus, if P then Q. If dehydrated disc is causing problems, teacher, call on me. How do you rehydrate the disc? You see how that? Right? Now, that's not the solution to every problem, but man, you'd be surprised. Right? A, how many problems that fixes, and B, how easy it is to rehydrate those discs.
Technology has vastly changed the impact of our environment on our divine architecture. The structure of our body is literally threatened by our modern day lifestyles. Learn the ancient science of the Djed Pillar, the spine. You might just be saving a life.
Protect your neck. You best protect your neck.